Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. As usual, we're here with our weekly member spotlight at the Apartment Association. I'm Rachel with Court Furniture, and today we're here with Michael Wilke of Towne Properties. So I think this morning we're going to get right down to business and jump right in. So Michael, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your title, and a little bit about your role at Towne Properties.
Sure, yeah. I'm originally from Akron, but I've been in Cincinnati now for over a decade, which is sometimes crazy for me to think about. I'm the digital marketing specialist at Towne. I work in the Mount Adams office, and essentially what I do is I assist sites, all the communities, various communities that we manage, in their digital marketing efforts, including websites and online advertising, and making sure that their websites are up to date. I help design the websites, put them all together, run the Google ad campaigns, Facebook, all that good stuff. And another fun thing that I get to do is a lot of training, which I like doing, going to the sites and assisting in that way one-on-one, which is doing less of it. It's more over the phone now than it used to be, but I really like getting out onto the sites when I can.
Cool. So are you doing that all by yourself? Do you have a team behind you, or do you have some support?
So we have a small marketing department. Most of the online things are really split between Janet Chiarella, my boss, and myself. But then we have an amazing graphic designer, Arian Clark, and then Shannon Sinclair sort of assists us really in any way, in every way. She's sort of a really nice utility player on our team.
Gotcha. Usually one of the next questions that I ask is how many years have you been in the industry? But I find your role pretty interesting because do you consider yourself truly part of the apartment industry? Is this your first go in this world? Or have you always been more of like an IT behind the scenes guy?
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say when I first started, because I started out when I graduated college, my little stint back in Akron, but my first real job down in Cincinnati was at a business-to-business marketing firm. So I was just in all sorts of different sort of spaces, and I never really felt like I was working for one organization,
right,
or that I really understood the industries in and out that I was assisting all the time. So when I left that job, I really wanted to focus on a singular industry. And then I didn't necessarily think property management, that's definitely what I'm going to do. But when I interviewed with Towne, it was a perfect fit for my skill set with the marketing thing. Now that I've been in it for almost 5 years, it definitely, I do feel like part of the industry now more so than ever, especially coming from a background of sort of being just partially in these industries. I feel very much immersed in this. And although I can't always necessarily relate to things that community managers are going through,
right,
and leasing professionals are going through, yeah, I would definitely say that I feel like I'm part of the industry.
We definitely feel like you're part of the industry, and good. I think a lot of us can relate to, number one, not intentionally getting into property management. I think that's probably been a common theme through all of these interviews, and then you find yourself here and you find your niche. But also there takes a little bit of knowledge about the industry to be able to market yourself and your properties the way that you do. So I think it's really interesting. And
yeah, that was definitely tough to start out too, was just sort of learning everything about the industry, not really knowing much. And
right,
it was really, I feel like the first year felt really overwhelming, and part of it definitely felt like, am I ever really going to truly get this? And obviously I still feel like there's so much I have to learn, but I don't feel as overwhelmed anymore as I used to, which is good.
It's also worth mentioning, not only is Michael such an asset to Towne Properties, but you've really been an asset here at the Apartment Association, teaching some social media classes. And quick plug, if there's any of those that you're interested in, contact us. Yeah. Michael will be your teacher, and we've had great success so far, so keep that in mind. You mentioned how you got into the industry. Do you have any memorable stories from your time here?
Yeah, I think talking about teaching classes, I get to deal with a lot of I do a lot of reputation management as well, so I do deal with irate residents, which can make for some interesting stories, but maybe not necessarily the most appropriate stories to tell. But
this is a safe space.
Yeah, I know everybody can relate.
Yeah.
But I do think back to teaching my first class for the Apartment Association, which was I'd only been working for Towne for a few months at the time, and they'd actually asked Janet, my boss, to teach the class. She was gonna be out of town or something. I said, well, do you have anybody else that can do it? She was like, Michael, would you be interested in doing this? And in my head, I was sort of like, not really.
No.
Like, I don't think I'm ready for that. But of course, I was like, yeah, definitely, totally. And it went way better than I expected it to go. And then they asked me to be on the education committee, which really kind of got the ball rolling in me sort of really immersing myself in the industry and starting to feel like, okay, I know what I'm doing, I understand these things, and really start to feel like I was finding my place.
Yeah. I love that so much because it's really a good life lesson. You're always so inclined to say no, and then you go ahead and say yes, and you find out that you can do it. And I also love how that exemplifies how resourceful the association can be.
Definitely.
And really, you know, an encouragement to new people to check it out because there are just so many opportunities here. So
Yeah.
I love that story. Do you have any advice or perspective that you would give any new people coming into the industry?
Yeah, I think going along with that, that would be my biggest piece of advice, would be just to get involved and as much as you can. And you know, sometimes you see these events going on, or these committees that maybe don't apply to what you're currently working on, but I think you'll still be surprised at how much you can get out of it and how much you can learn, and even the networking opportunities and the doors it can open up. I mean, I remember sitting on the education committee for the first few months and just silently, never having anything to contribute, and realizing that some of the acronyms people were talking about, I didn't even know what they meant.
Right.
And like, just sort of being like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't understand any of this. And over time, you start to figure it out, you start to learn, you become less apprehensive about asking questions and giving your opinion. And it really, you know, and that led to me getting on even more committees and being more involved. And so I think that really just get involved in everything you possibly can, even if you don't think that applies to you. You'll be surprised at how beneficial sometimes these things can be.
I completely agree with that. Okay, moving on to some personal, fun details about you.
Okay.
Would you like to talk about the last book that you read?
Yeah, well, I'm currently reading a book about the Northern Irish Troubles, which is sort of an interesting topic. I studied abroad there like 8 years ago, and I just sort of would hear it in passing, and you know, people would sort of mention it, and I never really knew anything about it. And then I just went back and visited again 8 years later and realized that I still don't know much about it. I was like, maybe it's time to educate myself a little bit. So I'm working my way through one of those books right now. It's kind of a history. Usually I'm more on the fiction side, but I'm trying to get into some nonfiction now.
Are you finding it interesting?
I am, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure having been there twice makes you appreciate it even more.
Yeah, you see all these murals and all these things that people painted, and you're kind of, now I can kind of put historical context to that, which is nice. And
very cool.
I should have done that before I went back. But
now you have a reason to go back again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm guessing, I didn't read your answers, but I'm assuming one of your favorite hobbies or pastimes is traveling.
Yeah,
you can elaborate on that, or talk about any of the other ones?
Yeah, I feel like I don't get to travel as much as I'd like, but any chance I get to, you know, I'm lucky enough to have friends and family that are kind of scattered around the country, so it makes for good excuses to go visit people. Outside of that, around here, I love being in Cincinnati and just exploring the parks, and I have a dog, and me and my wife like to take her to the park, and she loves the winter, so especially when it's cold out and there's not a lot of people around, we kind of let her run around and have fun. So yeah, I really enjoy just traveling around the city itself.
It's a great city. And I'll skip down since you mentioned your dog. Can we hear about her?
Yeah, I have a rescue dog. She's a mutt, some kind of Australian Shepherd Border Collie mix. We're not sure.
High energy?
Yeah, pretty high energy. So we've had her for almost 4 or 5 years now. Time goes fast. But yeah, I've always been a big dog person, and my wife is also a dog person. So as soon as we moved into an apartment where we were allowed to have pets, it was like that week we got a dog. So it was pretty quick.
What's her name?
Her name's Annie.
Annie, perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. And then you mentioned, you know, figuring out some new things about the city and everything. Have you found a favorite restaurant? Do you have a favorite type of food?
Yeah, it's not necessarily, I guess, in Cincinnati, but I love Mexican food. So La Mexicana in Newport. Shout out to La Mexicana.
Too. Yeah, that was on my interview too.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, they have the best Mexican food
it really
I've found
is the best.
in and around the city. So yeah, I would definitely recommend anybody go other. Actually, Janet showed me that restaurant. I watched the restaurant for the first
It's
time.
a hidden gem.
I think so.
Do you
yeah.
have a favorite dish there?
I'll try almost anything there.
They have some interesting dishes.
I
some
guess I won't try
adventurous-
everything.
Right.
They have some kind of brains and stuff you
Yes.
can put on the tacos. I won't really eat that, but
Yeah.
just the amount of combinations you can put on the
Mhm.
tacos is awesome. So,
And it's
yeah.
so authentic.
It is.
I
Yeah,
love it.
I love it.
And what about TV? Do you have time to watch much TV? Do you have a favorite show?
I watch TV. Yeah. I jump around. I usually end up watching all the same shows I used to watch when I was like, in college and stuff. When I was watching more TV, like 30 Rock and Community and The Office, when all those shows used to air like one after the other. That was kind of like my Thursday night viewing schedule. So, and then other than that, I try to watch Jeopardy most nights.
Oh, I love that.
So my wife and I
Jeopardy fan.
kind of go.
Do you keep score?
No.
Oh, you have
I
to keep score.
She would beat me, honestly, so I don't want to know.
It's funny, The Office for me is like my background noise. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm just gonna fold laundry, it's just
Yeah.
constant
See, Bob's
hilarity.
Burgers is my background
Oh, yeah,
thing.
that's
I've
a
watched
good one,
that so
too.
many times. I just put it on if I have nothing else to watch.
And then have you become a Cincinnati sports fan?
I haven't. I'm from. I'll say this. I like the Reds. I root
Okay.
for the Reds, but I'm from Akron originally, so I'm more of a Cleveland sports fan. Browns, Indians, Cavs. I got to go to the Cavs playoffs.
Oh, wow.
Last year when LeBron was still on the team.
Wow.
So that was cool. Got to watch him hit a game winner against Toronto, which was a highlight
That's
of my
awesome.
sports
Yeah.
life. But the Indians only play the Reds a couple times a year, so they play next Saturday. So I'm going to be at that game, sort of
Oh,
rooting
cool.
for both.
Okay. So you can relate to our misery as a Browns fan,
Oh,
too.
yeah. I've been through the 1-15 and the 0-16 seasons for the Browns, and it's rough going, but
Yeah. I don't want to speak for all Bengals fans, but I always silently kind of root for the Browns.
I always do too with the Bengals. I always feel like we commiserate.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody tells me like, "Oh, you're a Browns fan," they kind of give me a little. Go, aren't we both kind of?
We have a shared hatred
Yeah.
for some other teams.
Yeah,
so
and
I
we're
get
both
it.
kind of waiting for our next playoff win.
It's going to be ugly when one gets it.
I know.
Then the
yeah,
rivalry
yeah,
really
exactly.
starts.
Yeah.
How about concerts? Do you have a great concert that you've been to, or
Yeah,
a couple?
the day after my 28th birthday, my wife and I went to go see the Foo Fighters when they were at US Bank.
Oh, cool.
And it's her favorite band of all time, and she's
Mhm.
never gotten to see them. So we bought floor seats for that.
Nice.
And got there super early so we could get as close as we could. And that was sort of like a dream come true
Yeah.
moment for her, which was
Yeah.
really, really cool. And other than that, a couple weeks ago I got to go see Todd Rundgren for the third time
Oh, cool.
with my dad, and he's a big fan, so that was really fun. And then he did a book signing, so I got
Oh,
to
wow.
meet him, which was kind of a big thing for me because
Yeah.
I don't usually get to. I'm not the person who waits after shows to try to
Right.
meet the people I'm kind of trying to get home.
Right.
So it was cool to get to meet one of the
Yeah.
guys I grew up listening to.
You've had a lot of really cool experiences, I must
I'm pretty
say.
lucky, yeah.
So this question, I haven't read your answer.
Okay.
And I always look forward to this. If you were
Okay.
an animal, what would you be?
Yeah, I think the go-to answer is dog, and that's always where I kind of fall, because they live such good lives. I'd
Yeah.
love to live the life my dog lives.
Right.
It's awesome.
Right.
But outside of that, I would say really if I couldn't be a dog with a nice family,
Mhm.
any sort of pack animal, because I want to make sure I have some friends. And,
Oh, that's
always have some
interesting.
people to hang out
Yeah.
with, so I'm not just by myself.
Gotcha. That's a great answer. Is there anything you want to tell us about your family? You mentioned you have a wife.
Yeah, my wife. I met my wife in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, when we were
cool.
studying abroad. That's kind of a weird detail. And then she's from Brazil.
Okay.
So she was studying from her school, and I was studying
Wow.
from UC. So we did some long distance stuff for a while,
Yeah.
back and forth. And she came to Cincinnati to get her master's, and we've been married. It'll be 5 years next week.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
What a great story.
Yeah, so it was a whole.
Yeah. Did she ever imagine that she would end up in Cincinnati, Ohio?
I don't even think she was really even aware of
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Yeah, we talk about that a lot. She
Yeah.
said that she never really had all that much interest in visiting the U.S. because there were so
Wow.
many other places she wanted to go
Mhm.
first, and now it's she loves Cincinnati, which
Mhm.
is great for me. But
Right.
we know a lot of people that meet other people from warm countries that they
Mhm.
can't stand the winters. And
Right.
she loves it. She loves the winter, and
Good for
so
her.
I'm lucky in
Yeah.
that way. that
Yeah, I
haven't
should
had to get
probably
that
talk
many
to
years.
her and tell her, help me understand
Yeah,
this,
well, you know.
because I have a deep-rooted
When you've never seen
hatred for
snow
this.
before,
Yeah.
still.
Are there any other interesting details that you want to share about yourself? In closing, is there anything else that you'd like to share with everyone?
I think just, going back to sort of being in this industry, I did just fall into it, but I do feel really lucky that I'm part of a great company like Towne and a great organization like, our apartment association, and I've had a lot of great opportunities to not only teach classes, but go to classes here, and I just think everybody should take advantage of the opportunities they have here, because I've been in some other jobs where really the support wasn't nearly as great as what we have here, and so I just feel really appreciative for all the opportunities I've had over the last almost 5 years. Yeah.
That's great. I agree with you completely. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to talking more with you after, now that I know some of these details. I have so many things to chat with you about. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you all out there for watching. Some quick reminders, very quick. In July, 2 big events that the association has coming up is our BB Riverboat Cruise, and there is the beer run also coming up later this month. So I'm very vague on those details right now. Be sure to hop on our social media, check out the times, the dates. I'm sure you can find something that you'd be interested in attending. We hope to see you there. If you have any questions, as always, reach out, and have a great weekend. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.